Welcome, everyone. My name is Sofia, and together with Food Police, we have organized this event today. We know how important it is to have an international strategy nowadays. So we have prepared this session today in order to help you achieve your international goals. This event is framed under the Global Future Project, which aims to encourage and facilitate collaboration between Asian and European corporations through a series of trainings like the one we have today, workshops, as well as international missions. As you can see on the screen, today we have a very challenging agenda in just 2 hours, and followed by a matchmaking session that we will have through the B2Match platform. We will be introducing the speakers as we go, so you will be able to learn more about them and more importantly from them today. And due to time limitations, we will be addressing every question at the end of the session. So please leave every question on the Q&A box in Zoom that you can find under your screen. And we would need to have your name, company name, speaker you're addressing the question to, and the question itself, of course. And now I'm very excited to leave the stage to Sonyoung Park in Food Police. Thank you, Sonyoung.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Welcome, everyone, to the International Training Session of South Korea. My name is Sonyoung Park from Food Police, the South Korean partner of Global Future Project. We are very excited to co-host this international training session with Food Eye Cluster Spain, and I hope it could be a great learning experience and connecting opportunity for all of us. We are going to start the session with a summary of the latest trends in the Korean food industry, as well as an introduction of Food Police. Following that will be an actual collaboration cases on functional healthy food. We are also going to bring in a European perspective of collaboration for the sustainable food industry, ending with an intercultural knowledge session to better establish connection between countries. To begin, we have a very knowledgeable speaker, Professor Dong-min Lee from Gangneung Wonju National University. Professor Lee is one of the authors who wrote the book Food Trend Korea every year since 2018. Through extensive research and expertise, Professor Lee explores the dynamic and ever-changing Korean landscape, offering deeper understanding of the current shifts in consumer preferences and emerging phenomena in South Korea. But please keep in mind, Professor Lee has to give a lecture right after her session, so I will collect all the questions and forward it to her after the seminar. Please make sure you leave your proper email address in the question box to get answers. Ms. Dong-min Lee, the floor is yours. Please proceed.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dong-min Lee from Gangneung Wonju National University. Today, I will give a brief introduction about food industry trend in Korea. As I have only 20 minutes, I selected 3 sectors within food industry of Korea, including ready meal, protein, and beverages. For each section, I prepared small keywords to explain. So first keyword, ready meal. As you all know, the ready meal market in global, also in Korea, has been growing, which is a similar phenomena in global industry. So even during the ongoing pandemic in 2021, the ready meal sales in Korea showed a growth with about 13% increase compared to 2020. So here I want to focus on first small keyword that I want to focus is frozen ready meals, which shows notable growth in Korea. Here we used the sales data from Marketcolley. Marketcolley is an online platform channel in Korea. Their sales data shows an increase in sales volume per product of frozen ready meals since September to 2018. So here you can find out the blue line, which is the frozen product. So what happened in 2018? The emergence of air fryer in Korea can be one of the factors of increasing frozen products. The second factor is COVID-19 pandemic, of course. So many consumers, including those previously unfamiliar with these frozen products, they have experienced the convenience of frozen product. So particularly through online purchases. Why I'm addressing the online purchase is because if you imagine to go to buy frozen product in offline shops, you need to open the refrigerator to get the product, frozen food. But how about the online situation? It's different. Same condition for ambient or chilled or frozen food. After COVID-19, as online purchase increased, so these frozen food also have a chance to be sold. Okay, the second small keyword is meal kits. As you all know, these kits provide pre-cut, packed, fresh and processed ingredient and seasonings with cooking instruction for consumers to prepare their meals. Especially there is the transition to frozen meal kits also here. It has brought several advantages, including decreasing packaging waste, and also it simplified recipes. So those characteristics brought blurring of boundaries between ready meals and meal kits. So this had led to a perception of meal kits as a premium products of ready meals. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, second sector they want to focus on is protein, of course. As a major source of calories, carbohydrates proportion has decreased, while the proportion of protein and fat has increased. Especially since the outbreak of COVID-19, there has been an increasing interest in health and weight management, leading to a growing interest in protein. So increase in which type of protein, I won't show you in details. The purchase of animal, fish, seafood, and plant-based protein products have been increasing annually, including fresh and processing products, especially compared to 2019 and 2020. I want to go one by one. First, animal protein. The purchase of fresh and processed meat in all meat categories, including beef, pork, and chicken, has shown an increasing trend since 2017. Due to COVID-19, especially fresh meat shows a significant increase in purchases in 2020 compared to the previous year. Here for the fresh chicken, there's a decrease here in 2017. This is because the AI disease in Korea. Okay, the next seafood protein. This trend is quite different by types of seafood. For example, fish. We can find out that decrease in demand for mackerel, for example, which is the primary fish for grilling in Korea traditionally. But however, we could found out there's an increased demand for fish species with off flavors, such as salmon. And for example, for shellfish types, we could find out that there's a steady growth in the shrimp because we can easily prepare when we cook. And last one, processed seafood. It was declined over years, but after COVID-19, as cooking frequency was increased, and these processed seafood, such as surimi, fish cakes, imitation crab, was considered as affordable and which is cheap and shelf-stable protein option. So it has the increase here. And last option of protein, which is plant-based protein. Same as global trend. Consumer interest in health has increased, and with the spread of value-based consumption trends such as environment and sustainability and animal welfare, there is an increasing trend in the purchase of plant-based protein since 2017 here. Among these, soy processed products such as tofu and soy milk have a biggest share in the category of plant-based protein products in Korea. So within the protein section, I chose two keywords. The first one is alternative meat, which is quite related to the plant-based protein products that I just mentioned. The plant-based meat market in Korea is currently not very large, but it is gradually showing signs of growth. I can classify into two types of plant-based meat products, which is available worldwide. First type, products that emphasize the use of plant-based ingredients with a clean label approach. Second type is the products that focus on creating a taste, texture, and appearance similar to conventional meat. So in the case of South Korea, which kind of type is more or less? I want to explain that. So for the first type, the majority of plant-based meat of first type are made with tofu, and because Korean consumers are quite familiar with the ingredient tofu, that's why. And the second type of plant-based meat, which is meat-like texture and appearance plant-based meat, they are predominantly released in the form of meat-based ready meals rather than as raw ingredients. So like very famous one is Beyond Meat. They usually have the raw products, but however, in Korea, we have this kind of convenient ready meals like dumplings or fried rice, etc. Okay, the second small keywords about protein I want to focus is alternative milk. Alternative milk has become a popular choice among consumers in Korea with the vegan trend and those consumers with lactose intolerance, because many Asian consumers have this kind of lactose intolerance problems. So that's why people they want to focus on the alternative milk. In Korea, actually, soy milk dominates the alternative milk market. So while the frequency of soy milk purchase has decreased since 2018 here, the price has seen a significant increase. This is because the bulk purchase with online shopping became more common. What's happening for alternative milk other than soy milk? While soy milk is mostly consumed as a standalone product, almond or oat milk are being used as a milk alternative in coffee beverages. So in this regard, some franchises cafes are offering personalized option, started to offering these options for consumers to choose their milk preference. After my opinion, Korean consumers think soy milk is not alternative milk. It's just a kind of beverage in Korea. But in the situation when we buy coffee, especially the coffee beverage with milk, such as cafe latte, we can choose rather than milk, we can choose soy milk or oat milk. So in this only situation, Korean consumers think soy milk as alternative milk. Okay, so last keyword section is about the beverage. They have about 5 small keywords here. First of all, I want to focus about beverage market, excluding alcoholic beverages. This market shows the 14% of the F&B market in Korea, and it is showing steady growth. So in the following slides, I want to show you especially changes in coffee and carbonated drinks, soda, which are ranked at the top of beverages. So first keyword is about coffee, especially decaffeinated coffee. Korean coffee industry is quite big. I didn't put the detailed statistic in this slide, but an institute in Korea did a research about the consumption amount and found out that Korean consumers drink 363 cups of coffee every year, while the global average is only 132 cups. It's quite high. What kind of coffee is increasing? Here, I put this graph here. Instant coffee and mixed coffee decreased in 2021 compared to previous year, while roasted coffee, here, the orange one, and liquid coffee, which is RTD, ready to drink coffee, showed an increase. Especially after COVID-19, consumers tend to have coffee machine in their home or office. So here, the import of the coffee machine has been increased too. Moreover, the import of decaffeinated coffee beans shows a significant increase in 2021 compared to 2020, reaching an all-time high. Now we can find easily RTD decaffeinated products in convenience store, and major franchise cafes are also launching and giving the decaffeinated menus and options. The second issue that I want to focus on is about carbonated drinks market with alternative sugar. Carbonated drinks, including carbonated soft drinks and sparkling water, are showing rapid growth. Increase of alternative sugar product may explain this phenomenon. More than half of the new products launched in Korea since 2021 use alternative sugars. That's big. And then I want to explain about alcoholic beverages. I want to focus on wine and whiskey from this slide. The top-selling alcoholic beverages such as beer, diluted soju, and makgeolli, which is rice wine, have been decreasing. You can see here from the graph. However, fruit-based liquor such as wine have shown a sharp increase, and whiskey here has been steadily declining for over a decade, so show an increase in 2021. So I want to focus on wine and whiskey. So first, wine. Wine purchase per household have been steadily increasing since 2017. And they show a rapid increase through COVID-19. This is because convenience stores started to sell wines which is located nearby consumers' house or office, and this made the access barrier to wine to be lower. The important thing I want to mention here is that willingness to buy has been increased. So here, the purple and pink portion, which is the proportion of medium-priced wine or more, increased from 12% in 2015 to 26% in 2021. So it's quite, there's an increase. Then about whiskey. The whiskey market has been experiencing a steady decline, particularly in the case of blended Scotch whiskey, but there was a notable turnaround in 2021 with a significant increase compared to the previous year. The recent preference for premium single malt Scotch whiskey and the growth of highball culture can explain the growth of whiskey nowadays. You can easily find out this highball menu in Korea in the restaurant too. Okay, the last keyword finally is the non-alcoholic beverages. I know that non-alcoholic beverages do not include in alcohol beverages, but it is critical movement that has been observed in beverage market nowadays. The import of beer with an alcohol content of 1% or less have been rapidly increasing. And so many countries, including Korea, have seen a growing trend in the number of new beer products with an alcohol content of less than 1%, which is non-alcoholic beverages. This product category is increasing rapidly in Korean market. Why? First, there's two reasons, I think. It can be sold by online. In Korea, we cannot purchase alcoholic beverages by online channel. So wine, beer, soju, diluted soju, we cannot buy from online. How it is illegal, except for the traditional alcohols, drinks, or non-alcoholic beverages, of course. So this is why this can explain the popularity of non-alcohol beverages in Korea. And second reason is similar to the carbonated soft drinks with alternative sugar. Non-alcoholic beer is popular due to its low calorie contents in Korea. So because people have more interest in health problems nowadays, so they are focusing on this kind of non-alcohol products, I think. So this is the end of my presentation. I only selected 3 keywords. Food trend cannot be explained by these 3 keywords, but however, I just focused on these three one and tried to explain all. If you have any questions about my presentation, about the details, do not hesitate to email me. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Professor Lee, for the insightful presentation. Again, she has to leave for her lecture, so all the questions will be forwarded to her later on. Please make sure you add your proper email address in the question box as well. Thank you so much, Professor Lee. The next speaker will be myself. Again, my name is Han Young Park. I am currently working as a PR assistant manager and also the global liaison of Foodpolis. I will be giving the introduction of Foodpolis, which stands for both Korea National Food Cluster and the Food Industrial Promotional Agency of Korea. Let's switch the screen to presentation mode and get started. Our presentation will start with the introduction of the Korea National Food Cluster, the support facilities of our agency with our future plans. To understand what the National Food Cluster does, we should understand what a cluster is. Some of you may already be familiar, but for those who are not, according to Professor Michael Porter, a cluster is a designated area of linked industries, institutions, and even government agencies that enjoy competitive success in a particular field. All clusters and industrial complex areas are designated by the government. However, the National Food Cluster is designed to be a cluster and has the Food Industry Promotion Agency, which is a government agency. The planning began at 2008 and was completed in 2017. The agency started small by the name of Cluster Support Center, just for the national cluster in 2011. We went public on 2019 under the Ministry of Agriculture. Later on 2020, we switched to a new name called Food Industry Promotional Agency of Korea, which we have now. So what are the main tasks of the National Food Cluster? The Food Cluster provides a physical platform where the food companies can start their business, but by having the agency in the cluster, we are able to support the food companies with what they need to grow their business, from ingredient sourcing to R&D, even marketing and logistics. A lot of obstacles that business owners had to figure out themselves are solved in the cluster with the agency and other professional networks. I would like to tell you some numbers of Foodpolis. We have 126 partners that are located in the cluster, 36 startups that are occupied in the Food Venture Center. The current occupation rate is 72.4%. Our staff is approximately 110 people, and we have 19 teams to support the companies. 12 support facilities and 841 equipment is on site. We have 19,000 followers on our social media account. 17 project categories this year, and the total profit of our partners in 2021 is 246 billion Korean won, or 176 million euros. Average employment per partners of 2021 was about 25 people. The products that are produced by our partners could be categorized into 3 kinds. Some examples of the exported foods are kimchi, chewable propolis, seaweed snacks, and rice noodles. For health supplements, there are a variety of forms such as tablets, powder, jelly, and liquid types. There's also products that we call the future food, which are ready-to-cook meal kits, senior-friendly food, alternative protein, and products with personalized nutrition technology. Next, I would like to show you the facilities of Foodpolis. We currently have 12 support facilities, including the Food Industry Promotional Agency, and I will go through each and every facility we have and the collaboration cases. So first one would be our main building. The agency is in charge of the National Food Cluster. We promote ourselves to make more partnerships. We do marketing support, HR support. Also, we have the visitor center and Foodpolis Market in this building. The Foodpolis Market is a shopping center that has products from our partners. The visitor center is open to the public and has visual information about Foodpolis. The Business Consultation Center is always open for the partners and food companies to bring us their obstacles so that we may assist in overcoming them. The Food Packaging Center is the first lab in Korea that is specialized with food packaging. They provide customized packaging improvements, material analyzing, and environmental experiments for export shipping. Some of their best examples are package improvements for rice snacks, which increased 128% of the domestic rice consumption and led their exports to Taiwan. Another example is the ramen box material improvement, which saved the company 1.2 billion Korean won by preventing 85% of total destroyed packages during transit. Next is the Food Quality and Safety Center, which provides evaluation tests and human machinery-operated sensory tests. These lab services enables companies to plan out new products or test them out before releasing it to the market. Some of the center's best collaboration cases are new product, low sugar ginger tea base with consumer evaluation tests on samples with different sweeteners. For plant-based protein, we have texture analyzing tests were performed for product improvement. Also, some companies collaborated to get over product quality obstacles, such as odor or safetiness of the product. The Functional Evaluation Center performs technology support to valorize regular ingredients by validating special health benefits and evaluate toxicity of the ingredient. A good collaboration case was a company trying to claim health benefits of fermented and sprouted soya by using their own technology. However, to enlist this health function, they needed documents to prove the safety. By collaborating with the Functional Evaluation Center, they tested out and proved the technology is safe. Now the ingredient is labeled to help ladies' health during postmenopause. Other cases of enlistment is black raspberries and Rubus coreanus, both a type of dark berries. For manufacturing support, we have our own pilot plant where companies can schedule a date to use the machines to test produce their prototypes. The facility has a variety of manufacturing lines, such as fermentation tanks, drying and powdering, and even high-pressure processing. Pilot Plant specializes in health supplements. They find obstacles from companies and link with machineries that could solve the problem. Some of the good examples are below. Special probiotics that are capsuled or powdered and granulated propolis. The agency also has support facilities for startups, which is called the Food Venture Center. It mainly provides office and factory spaces that are pre-designed HESUP, GMP, and ISO rooms. A total of 49 slots are in the center and 36 companies are with us. We call the companies in the center ventures. Ventures are recruited every once or twice a year, and once a company becomes a venture, they are free to use the shared facilities and have better rates on the other center support facilities. They are evaluated and consulted each year and can stay up to 7 years. One of the biggest projects of the Venture Center is the Startup Lab project. Companies or even people with business ideas can join this project and get education, consulting on how to start their own business. They also provide networking and feedback so the startups can grow successfully. Good cases are Meticulously, who joined the lab last year. They got 8 new products launched and 2 patents enlisted. Another good collaboration would be Localworks, who joined the lab on 2019, which is now a venture partner. Next facility is the one that specializes in sauce, from recipe development to prototype manufacturing. This HACCP certified facility is here to create new sauce items that the companies want. Their best collaboration cases would be sauce development using their equipment. A company needed sauce for their new plant-based meat, so we provided our recipe consulting service, sensory tasting, and manufacturing equipment. As a result, their new plant-based chicken with barbecue gochujang sauce, which is the Korean chili paste, is ready to be in the markets. One of our newer centers is for the home meal replacements, such as sauces and meal kits. With their 73 types of equipment, the HMR Center provides technology and their equipment for companies who are trying to develop their plant-based meat, green packaging, and meal kits. Their current alternative meat technologies are focused at plant-based, as they have the extruder machine on site to form textured vegetable protein. They examine the pressure and moisture of the production environment to form a variety of textures. Also, they are collaborating with the local traditional markets to invent their signature meal kits. Some examples are the collaboration with Gwangyang Market, the one in Southwest Province. Our staff and the merchants collaborated to launch 2 types of new meal kits, barbecue chicken and beef. First year, they sold 500 kits. This year, they are looking to sell 8,000. The 9th facility is the Functional Food Styling Center, which opened last month. The building is designed to represent the future of food factories, and it provides technology support for various types of functional food rather than the solid types. They are equipped with machinery that can package liquid type, such as pouching, bottling, and ampoule machines. In the final packaging line, they are equipped with automated robots to demonstrate what the food companies will look like in the future. The latest 5G network is running through the whole facility for the best automated performance and real-time monitoring. Now it is the 10th facility, while we still have the other 2 under construction. It is the Agri-Food Distribution Center, which supports partner stocking and ingredient supply. The facility provides dry, cool, and free storage areas and information of the farmers by their crops by collaborating with the Agriculture Cooperative of Korea. We connect local farmers to the companies to benefit both sides. The farmers could have a new stream of income while the companies get their ingredient supplies year-round. One of the 2 facilities that will be complete in 2024 is the Youth Startup Center, which is an upgrade version of the Venture Center. Including the rental office and facility rooms, the square will provide networking and educational opportunities for startups. The square will be an optimized space to create ideas into actual products and scale them up. Also, the business support program will cover the new players step by step, which is actually divided into 3 stages depending on their state. Currently, the building is planned to have a seminar room, manufacturing equipment, and a shared kitchen. Also, there will be guest houses for people coming from a distance. Furthermore, there will be a visitors area, such as museums, and last but not least, office spaces for the startups. The last facility, which is also being completed next year, is the functional ingredient bank. It is going to work like a seed bank, but with functional ingredients. The facility's goal is to label more normal foods as functional by sourcing, evaluating, and storing domestic agri-food ingredients. Starting with raw ingredients, they extract and separate the functional part of the ingredient. They will analyze and store them until a company or school wants to use the ingredient. The facility will also keep up on researching on standardizing ingredients, which means to search and analyze on a certain type of ingredient for health benefits and build a standard of how much you should consume to claim those benefits to label it as a functional ingredient. They will also be equipped with a few processing lines, such as extracting, drying, and powdering the ingredients to scale up the savings. To explain our future plan and current efforts, in the lineal line starting from an industrial cluster to become a sustainable cluster, and in the middle there is the innovation cluster. We currently see ourselves in the stage of shifting towards to an innovation cluster. To move on to a more innovative and sustainable way, we are making a lot of effort, and some are described in the slide. We are trying to blend more culture into the cluster, and by growing our partnership pool, we will have enough power for stage 2, which is a larger version of the National Food Cluster. We are building a stronger business academic network by broadening nationwide and globally. Also, we are working on a digital food information platform that collects the information onto a single page instead of leaving them in multiple websites. To advance the food technology industry, we are establishing an open R&D center for senior-friendly, functional foods and home meal replacements. Currently, we are working on connecting universities to the cluster by making joint graduate courses that the employees of our partners could apply. In this effort, we are building a stronger ecosystem for human resources. Lastly, we will keep up our work on scaling up small businesses by creating a growth cycle from new companies to startups to venture partners that grows to be even bigger partners of the cluster. So we have already started most of the parts that I've explained, but what I do want to address is that to succeed all of them, it requires a better, stronger connection in between businesses, schools, research facilities, and even the government with us. So we think the future project is a great opportunity for all of us to cooperate. To take a closer look on our efforts, we are investing for a digital transition in our agency and our partners that are located in the cluster. The 5G Smart Factory and Logistics System is installed in the Functional Food Styling Center. For our partners, we are providing consulting and professional connections to build a smart HACCP system in their factories. On 2022, 4 of our partners has applied smart HACCP to their factories, so this year we are expecting to have more. Although we are trying to add more culture and experience opportunities in the cluster, sometimes government regulations makes it hard to do so. For instance, there were rules that the companies in the clusters are only allowed to do manufacturing and not allowed to sell products in the cluster. It was going the opposite way of our goal because we actually want to encourage our partners to have shops and experience centers. We created the task force team to lift these regulations and try to reach out the government, including the Prime Minister. Now the regulations are lifted and some partners who has roasteries, now they own coffee shops with brewing classes, some launched their own meal kit products. The agency was initially built for the food cluster, but now we have a bigger mission to support all the food companies in the country. We need to build a stronger network to create synergy on company support. Nationwide connections are made by 7 provinces and 205 participants, creating a total 567 million Korean won profits for the companies. Also, there are global connections. Foodpolis has joined as Global Future Partner on November 2022 and actively communicating for good collaborations within the community. If you are a non-Korean establishment and wish to collaborate with our facilities, or even want your South Korean branch in the cluster, that is totally possible. Please feel free to message or email us. If you want to collaborate with our partners, please contact your related organizations and we will help you get connected. Annual global events are also held in Foodpolis. Actually, we just finished our 13th annual international conference on May 24th. The topic was the big blur, about blurring boundaries in between the food and other industries. You can watch the full English video on Arirang TV. I will leave the link in the presentation deck when it's ready. Another global event is going to be held on June 20th to 23rd. DLG, which stands for German Agriculture Society, is having the third evaluation contest at Foodpolis. In our Open R&D Center, companies can schedule in advance to use the lab equipments and machines in our facilities. Recently, we are investing more on the food technology area, which is alternative protein, senior-friendly food, and sourcing new functional ingredients from side streams. For alternative protein, we are currently focusing on textures of vegetable protein. For companies who are planning a new senior-friendly food product, we are also providing consulting and evaluation every quarter to label the pink S mark, which means the product is built for older people to consume with ease. New functional ingredients are in experiment in our open labs. One of the good cases are one of our partners developing cricket-derived ingredients that helps improve type 1 diabetes. And some research is going on to valorize side streams, such as rice bran and onion peels, to find ingredients that could benefit human health. We are creating more job opportunities and education programs for food-specialized human resources. We have updated our on-site HR training and added more career-related programs, such as fairs and exhibitions. As a result, we already see a difference. 26 alumni has been connected to major food companies, and 17 companies has been matched with 70 candidates, which is 40% above our original goal. We improved the startup lab projects from 2 to 3 stages, which is pre, beginner, and jump/restart. It significantly increased the succeeding rate of new businesses from 39% to 62.5%. Also, we are trying to attract more investment opportunities by holding IR demo events and roadshows for the startups. Also, our facilities are designed for a growth ecosystem for startups. For instance, some of our current partners started with just an idea with our startup lab projects. They grew up and choose to be venture partners in the venture center or sign a partner contract to build their own company in the cluster. Every step, there are more projects provided by the agency, and because of how easy it is to use the equipment in the facility, there are more and more startups that chooses to grow with us each year. So I hope this presentation gave you a good understanding of what Foodpolis is and what our objectives and projects are. If anyone is interested in collaborating, just simply message or email us. We will be more than happy to assist you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Sun-Young, for all the information that you shared with us. I'm curious about something. If an international company wanted to use your facilities, would it be possible for them? And if so, how would they manage that?
Okay, I will answer now. So originally, if a company wants to use our facilities or have a joint project, they have to fill out some documents to become a partner. But obviously, for international collaborations, there is going to be more steps before that. So I recommend for the companies to sign an MOU form with us, or us and the cluster organization that the company is located in could sign the MOU and proceed any projects afterwards.
That's brilliant. I hope all the attendees have taken good note of this to take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you very much, Sun-Young.
Okay, thank you so much. So we will proceed to the next presentation now. We are going to have a deeper understanding of collaboration cases, which is about health claims kimchi. Health claims is an interesting labeling system on normal foods that indicates the product is including a certain health benefit. Currently, Korea and Japan is the only countries that has this system. Mr. Tae-Hwan Kim, senior researcher of World Institute of Kimchi, will further explain about the future of functional ingredients and healthy food. By this section, we will learn more about the innovative partnership cases that train food police and various companies that drives advancements in the realm of functional food. Mr. Tae-Wan Kim, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you everyone. This is the introduction of health claim kimchi. My name is Kim Jae-hwan in World Institute of Kimchi. The object of my presentation is to introduce the health claim kimchi. I will divide my presentation into 4 parts. The presentation will focus on definition, status, and problem of health claim kimchi, and how to collaborate with kimchi companies. And in the last, our challenge in this year. By the end of this presentation, I hope that you will take a leap forward through collaboration cases. This is important because health claim is an important turning point in the food industry. This is abstract of this presentation. I will explain that. The topic of first session is what is the health claim kimchi? To introduce health claim kimchi, first of all, I should explain the preconditions for health claim food and present the development story in kimchi industry. To be listed in health claim food in Korea, need 4 requirements. First, the functional ingredient should be made in GMP factory. And second, health claim food should be made in HACCP factory. Third, the functional ingredient must be included in the 29 permitted. This is the table of regulation. There are 29 permitted ingredient list. For example, the first is insam, ginseng. The second is hongsam, the red ginseng, and plum and garlic, and so. There are presented name of ingredients and health claim and quantitative requirement analytical markers. Last, the manufacturer must keep tests report within 6 months about the residual amount of analytical marker. After 2020 new regulation, the various type of products began to appear in Korean food market. Dubu, yogurt, even in non-alcoholic drink market, the health claim food started to be released. So ironical, non-alcoholic drink. This is the first health claim kimchi in Korea. The product is satisfied 4 preconditions and registered in Korean Food Industry Association. This is health claim kimchi using fructooligosaccharides for gut health. In the labeling, there health claim, name of ingredients, quantitative contents of analytical marker, and 1 day quantitative requirement of analytical marker, and upside the caution. This is the first health claim Korean kimchi in Japan. The name of product is hot fermentation kimchi king. This is the same health claim in Korea using fructooligosaccharides for gut health, the same in Korean market. The Korean regulation is so different and similar to Japanese regulation. This is so interesting story, but today is not. but I hope to have an opportunity to introduce the Japan health claim regulation later. Until now, I explained what is the health claim kimchi. If so, we want to explain what is the problem was and how we solve it. This is the listed chronology. The health claim food has developed, but after the first health claim kimchi was released, the market fell short of expectation. There is some reason. Still, barriers to entry for producer were high. Consumers don't understand the characteristics of the health claim kimchi. The consumer don't understand what is the health claim kimchi. And Korean health claim kimchi failed to secure leadership in the global market. There are so many problems have the health claim kimchi cannot the issue. In this situation, the food police collaborate with kimchi companies for promoting health claim kimchi industry. First, food police started working with World Institute of Kimchi as an operation institute. In the first step, food police focused on Korean functional ingredients like 남해군 garlic, 광양 매실, 광양 prune, and create a new market based on tradition. Last, collaborate between regulation and technology, promote exporting and popularization of health claim kimchi. In this, the one-stop service for industry. This is the map. In Korea, various functional ingredients are cultivated. Representative garlic. Garlic as an important ingredient of kimchi, it is seasonal vegetable. Garlic is widely cultivated in the southern coast of Korea, including Namhae-gun. Prune grown in similar region are also loved by so many Korean. Maybe every Korean has cooked with prune at least one. Food Police formed the South Coast Area Collaboration Group together with 5 national kimchi manufacturers and support to develop the health claim kimchi using garlic and prune. For collaboration with kimchi companies, it was necessary to strengthen the development capability. So workshop, seminar, and technical support were conducted. After health claim kimchi is developed, Food Police additionally support the promotion, dealer meeting, and tasting. During technical support and product development, there are so many technical barriers. As a representative barrier, this is analytical markers like arline from garlic, left side, the citric acid from prune. It was difficult to maintain quantitative requirements of analytical marker. So we continuously repeated the process of manufacturing prototypes and analyzing. And product design according to regulation was also difficult process. In the results, 5 companies can develop 10 health claim kimchi using garlic and prune. In the right side, there are announcement list of health claim kimchi in Korean Food Industry Association homepage 2022. In this year, we focus on 전라도 health claim kimchi. 전라도 kimchi is Korean most representative traditional kimchi made with various local ingredients and seafood from 전라도. Maybe this is like the Hamon Iberico de Beotac. Maybe this is Korean the representative food. Food policy from 전라도 kimchi export collaboration group. This group consisted of 10 promising small and mid-sized kimchi manufacturer located in 전라도 province. For collaboration with 전라도 kimchi companies, we plan to provide more intensive support than last year. Last month, a combination of workshop, seminar, and technical support was carried out. For exports, Korean health claim kimchi catalog in Korean and Japanese was printed and distributed. This catalog introduced regulation of health claim food, health claim kimchi developed in 2022, last year. First health claim kimchi in Korean and Japan. And the excellence of Korean functional ingredients and new health claim kimchi for Korean Japanese market in this year, we will plan. In this year, our challenge will continue. New health claim kimchi will reflect the Korean and Japanese customers' request. So many health claim kimchi will be developed for reducing metabolic syndrome and strengthen immunity. Especially, we will continue to expand the use of Korean functional ingredients like garlic, pepper, sesame leaves, and 홍사. I would like to recap the main point of my presentation. First, I covered health claim food and kimchi. We talk about the collaboration case between food policy and kimchi companies. Finally, we look at the challenge in 2023. So as I have shown in this presentation today, I hope that you will take a new leap forward through collaboration cases. Thank you very much for everyone's attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jae-Won Kim, for the presentation. Health claim food is a new concept to the rest of the world, excluding Korea and Japan. So I hope this presentation provided an interesting case of collaboration between food police, companies, and other organizations. Now I see there is one Q&A in the Q&A box, but since we have limited time, we will answer the questions in the end of the seminar. For the next speech, we will learn about interesting partnership cases in between Europe and Asia. Ms. Ditte Weisse, Executive Director of Innovation Center of Denmark, the Embassy of Denmark. She described Korea as an innovation powerhouse when it comes to technology. However, she finds it interesting how the country positions as a global leader in seaweed production within the sustainable food industry. How can we tap into the know-how of Korea in producing seaweed? And what can we learn from the evolved market and gastronomy with seaweed? What partnership and marketing opportunities are there for innovative SMEs? Ms. Weisse will share experiences from creating collaborative partnerships around seaweed between Korea and Denmark. Please welcome her to the screen.
And good morning in Europe, and thank you for the chance to participate in this quite interesting seminar. As you presented, my name is Ditte Weise. I'm the director of the Innovation Center here in Seoul. And to give a very short introduction to us and why we are here in Seoul, the Innovation Center was established 10 years ago, back in 2013. It's a joint initiative of the Danish government between science and education, and also trade and foreign affairs. So our mission is to elevate Danish science innovation through collaboration with world-leading innovation ecosystems. And as you can see from the map here, we have 7 innovation centers globally. We are based in places where there's a high innovation capacity and interesting technology industries. So the reason of this is not so much only selling Danish solutions, but very much also about taking knowledge back and bringing partnerships that can be of value to the whole innovation ecosystems. When I say ecosystems, it's exactly the point that we think innovation happens with companies, with startups, with universities, with clusters, and that there is a point in bringing these actors together. So that's our philosophy in the innovation. And just briefly, I want also to mention that we do innovation work within prioritized fields. So we work exclusively with the agendas of green transition, digitization and tech, and then health and life science, which are strategic areas to Denmark, but also interesting global fields. Today, I'm going to speak about seaweed, like introduced, and briefly why and how we collaborate with South Korea in this area. I'm not myself a seaweed expert, obviously, but quite fascinating. The short answer to why we collaborate with Korea on this is because tomorrow's menu is also seaweed. If we go sort of by a common sense understanding, it is of course important that we utilize both land and water space, marine environments for food production. Marine resources are a real crucial part of the bioeconomy, since the marine environment makes up more than 70% of the Earth's surface. And also, actually, the marine farming is the fastest growing food industry, with growth rates about 6% per year. So in the whole quest for sustainable ingredients and more plant-based protein, seaweed is a very important biomass to consider. So will seaweed really become a stable food for all in the future? It, of course, really depends on the development of ways to utilize the seaweed. As you can see of this picture, Korea actually holds a world record when it comes to seaweed consumption per capita. And in general, you could say that seaweed is more of a stable food in some Asian cuisines already today. But as also mentioned by Dongmin Lee in a previous presentation, the rising plant-based protein market, we also see examples of use of seaweed in other products. For example, in burgers, and I borrowed this example from it was a Dutch example, where seaweed is added both to the patty in the middle, but also in the bun. And there is a lot of ongoing research and innovation going into making this scenario possible, where seaweed is consumed, you know, in the same ways that we see other plant-based proteins like the soybean and other pulses. All right. Just to keep the burger as sort of a way to illustrate the very many different layers of innovation and development that is actually needed to go this way. It is quite acknowledged that in Europe there's a big innovation and technology gap, and there's a need for research in many areas. So to start from the beginning, which seaweed species will actually work what is the nutrition, the food safety, etc. There are hundreds or thousands of species of seaweed, and it is, of course, also interesting to adapt to indigenous species in different waters, etc. So the first question is, we don't know yet what types of seaweed may be there, may be indigenous in our waters, and will work for a variety of ingredients. The second point is, you say, well, how do we then get the ingredients? And this is also back to the, the emerging industry, seaweed industry. As I have put also here on the slide, 97% of all seaweed globally is actually produced in Asia. So relatively speaking, we do have a very small industry. So if you were a company, how would you actually find a way to a supplier for this? And how diversified are the types of ingredients and forms of seaweed ingredients? Now, a third big area of innovation is also then how to do it, how to mix it, what's the recipe? We're talking about processing technologies, but also then sensoric profile, functional and taste qualities of the seaweed. A lot of differences there and a lot of tests going on. And finally, of course, also how to sell it, and how to sell it in a literal sense, collaboration with retail and food services. How is actually the uptake of this as a category, but also very much as in terms of consumer preference and what you could call also a culturally appropriate food. There is a certain novelty and associations with the seaweed, which I'm sure is also a recognizable theme in other parts. We heard before the example of the crickets. So there are many types of innovations and knowledge and awareness and processes that we need to apply when introducing this sort of new category of food. Of course, this is illustrative, and there could be a lot of more details on the actual innovation areas. The point I'm making is that if we see an interest in companies today on how to use seaweed in a product, there's a lot of open questions and also in part unanswered questions. There's a lot of innovation going on in these areas. Just to say a few of the challenges that are on the road to commercial innovation with seaweed. Some of the most frequent ones that we hear are some of the concerns of, for example, mineral levels and food safety for human consumption. This could be in the concentration of iodine, but also the potential toxins or pollutions that we see in the seaweed grown in the ocean. So second, also how to remove unwanted flavor. If you, again, take the soybean as an example, you can see yogurt, you can see milk, you can see tofu, you can see all sort of products, but how do we get seaweed to be in a shape and sensory quality where it can also be used into snacks, bread, beer, meat alternatives, etc. So we need to have that diversified product to really take it up in different product categories. Of course, also a big concern here is on some of the growing systems, cost versus quality. If we really do industrial scale, how do we do ocean-based? How do we do land-based and aquaculture? What are some of the upsides to the high food grade quality that we will need in some uses, and what is actually the economy of the seaweed as a plant protein? There's a lot of need to still understand what is an ideal growing system. We do see emerging systems in Europe. For example, again, I'm mentioning the Netherlands, but in the North Sea, there's actually very good conditions for growing seaweed, and we see cooperatives and a lot of interest around trying to do this seaweed farming around Europe. And of course, also land-based in connection with aquaculture and the whole synergies of seaweed combined with fish production. Again, one thing that is often mentioned to me by some of the experts in this field is actually also that in Europe, at least, we have still a an incomplete legal framework and standards to really be utilizing and shaping an industry around this. And it is, of course, a very important fundament to really spur off an industry. When my colleagues and me are in Denmark and speaking with food companies, we do hear an open interest of saying, we would like to do this, but how do we get started? That's also one way where we're thinking, how can we then collaborate with Korea? And the starting point for this is that, of course, Korea is a world-leading seaweed producer, and in some types of seaweed, I believe around the third largest producer in the world. And of course, what we can see here quite obviously is that some of the strengths is that there is an industrial scale production here. There's a lot of know-how around how to produce, how to process, how to grow. And of course, there is an evolved gastronomy and market, seaweed market here in Korea. And I should also mention again, a very strong R&D community, obviously, because this has been a stable food and a biomass that has been important in this region. So there is a lot of overall know-how and strength and capacity in Korea. Now, how do we translate this into the interest of the sustainable food agenda, to which the seaweed use is very aligned in a European and at least in a Danish context? It's important also for us to say what could be the interest of the Korean partners to really engage with some of the innovative startups and some of the emerging communities in Europe. And when we speak to some of the established companies here in Korea, I've mentioned Desang and CJ in the pictures here, we also do see that they're very interested. They pick up on this new global market opportunity. I think to paraphrase, what is interesting to them is to see seaweed with this set of innovative eyes, like we want to use it for something entirely else than it has been used so far. We also positively know that they are investing in markets abroad. We heard about kimchi before, actually a big kimchi facility in Poland. And of course, the question is, how would they, as a seaweed company, go about localizing or entering in a market? What type of partnerships? Where would it be good to produce in Europe, etc.? So we definitely see from the Korean ecosystem also an opportunity, both in the market, but very much so also in the partnership part. Picking up on that, we as the Innovation Center, we have only been working with this area for a bit more than a year. And from the hypothesis of there must be something very interesting we can partner up on in the area of seaweed, we started out by creating a program called the Danish-Korean Blue Biocluster Alliance. And basically what we did in this program was to connect some of the leading researchers and companies and try to develop sort of a workshop and knowledge sharing series of workshops where we picked up on seaweed in different users or sectors, for example, into the biohealth agenda with nutraceutical and functional food qualities. We also were looking into seaweed as the food innovation with focus on the gastronomy and what does seaweed gastronomy look like in Korea versus in Denmark specifically here. But also seaweed more broader as a feed and an additive, for example, into agriculture and into animal production. So we did a very broad topic and connection with the whole purpose of finding a mutual interest and getting these ecosystems to know each other. And since I had a bit more time here than I actually expected, I have added just a few details on this. These are workshops that we did last year, inviting always speakers from Korea and speakers from Denmark. We invited speakers from the research community, but also from the companies with providing an industrial view. And it was actually quite valuable, although it was sort of roundtables with an opportunity for the experts to connect and build rapport, so to speak. So beside these workshops that took place over the course of 1 year, we actually also, it's very important that people get to meet each other. So we actually brought a whole suitcase of Korean products. We brought the specialized RTO in seaweed from Mokpo. We brought them to Denmark at the conference. It was a conference also with a lot of European participants to discuss and also compare what are some of the food innovations and trends look like. And it was, when you taste it, it just makes a big difference. And at the same point, we also brought the Danish researchers and one of the startups within seaweed production out to Korea, and also did a tour around some of the universities, some of the sites, even to food police. And this is a very natural first step. I mean, if we want to find out where is the business case, we need to connect the ecosystem at many levels. And in our case, what was a first step was connecting at the R&D level. What I can say, though, is that based on this year, we are now trying to conceptualize a version 2.0 of this, where we are seeing a lot more interest to engage also with the companies and startups, and it will be some of the same elements, but we are hoping to create opportunities where startups from Denmark and the Nordics can come out. And I heard a lot of great opportunities also from the Food Policy presentation earlier. So considering also that we were speaking with companies today, and from our experience of being a partner in this whole internationalization around Korea and Europe and in the seaweed sector, I thought I would just list a few points. If you really consider Korea, we are here because Korea, as you said, is an innovation powerhouse, and it makes a lot of sense. But looking at also at Korea with a food company eyes, it's pretty obvious. It's a very large economy and has these strengths. It's also important to say about Korea that food is a hot topic, in the sense that there is a lot of food import dependency, and there's a high density population. So there is in Korea also an impetus for action, and that makes Korea very open to collaboration. Thirdly, the urban modern lifestyle here. We are based in Seoul, which is a metropolitan area of 24 million people. So it's an urban lifestyle with advanced convenience and uptake of food trends. So I think this was also stated from one of the presentations on some of the food trends and which categories really pick up. Korea really puts value to food safety and food quality. So that's also a characteristic of the market. And I would say there is an emerging sustainability focus in Korea. However, I also think it's fair enough to give a reality check based on our own experiences, and also from working with food companies and other companies for that matter, both corporates and startups. It is stating the obvious to say that Korea is quite far away. And in terms of the mindset, it requires a lot for companies to consider this market. If we also look a little bit on the numbers, the main food import in Korea actually comes from USA and Asian countries. So Europe is not sort of like the main exporter of food to Korea as is. When we look at our own experience and food companies that we engage with here in Korea, for some of these reasons, it is mainly larger food companies, also with a brand, and who are really able to do this investment that it is to take on a market so far away and so different. I would also say that, in terms of Korea compared to Denmark and perhaps Europe, I would say there is a less evolved sustainability awareness and framework as of right now, even if this is a trend that is probably growing. And finally, it's important to say that Korea is not Asia. Korea is its own market, and thinking that, you know, you have Korea, you have Japan, you have China. Korea is its own market, and Korea is doing a lot to become attractive as a hub to further Asian countries. But it's just important to state that it's of course very different, and it should be addressed for the market that it is. So that's so much for the reality check from our side. We are a team of 7 based here in Seoul, and we are very interested in also connecting to the food clusters, both on Korean and on the other side. And we have really appreciated all the learning we've also done. And from the conversation today, I really hope that in the next year, we will be able to also look into the SME and entrepreneurs with regards to Korean collaboration, because we really see the potential. So that's what we prepared, and thank you very much for the time and for the opportunity to be present, and looking forward for the rest.
Thank you, Ms. Faise, for such a valuable presentation. If you live in a certain area for a long time, sometimes it is very hard to recognize the objective pros and the realities we have. And I didn't recognize that Denmark has so much interest in seaweed as well. It was a great opportunity to learn from the European partners' view. I hope it helped the other European audience as well. Thanks again. Our last presentation will be from Professor Mariana Aguareles, an experienced lecturer and researcher at San Jorge University from Spain. She specializes in the fields of intercultural communication, intercultural mediation, and international negotiation. Her lecture will mainly handle intercultural communication skills and understanding institutional differences for a successful collaboration between culturally diverse businesses. Please welcome Professor Aguareles.
Okay. Right, so my talk of today is going to be about doing business across cultures, and we are going to be focusing on Europe and South Korea. So first of all, in order to start, it is important to mention or to reflect on what intercultural communication is, because intercultural communication refers to the effective communication between people, workers, and people coming from different cultural backgrounds, okay? So when we are talking about intercultural communication, we are also making a reference to the way people communicate, but people whose perceptions, symbols, and the way they perceive the world, it's completely different, okay? And these differences, without noticing them, they can alter the communication event, and they can alter the negotiations. So not being aware of this can ruin a negotiation, okay? And it can end up finishing a business relationship. For example, I've got some Korean students this year at the university, and well, first time I was on my whiteboard and I was writing some names in order to do an activity. So my pen was red. So when I started to write the names on red, they were like shocked, because there it is considered of bad luck in Korea writing names on red ink. So this is something my students didn't know. And this is like a reflection of what intercultural communication is. Another thing would be, for example, gestures. We've got some gestures in the world that have different meanings. So for example, on the first picture, we see that the guy is telling us like, fuck off, screw, okay? It's super heavy. And in the other picture, when we put the palm or the hand the other way around, it says it's 2, like 2 beers, please. So these gestures are also a part of intercultural communication, and it is very important to be aware of them while doing business across cultures. The same happens, for example, when you go to Greece. If you want to stop a taxi in Spain and in many Europe countries, the way to do it, it's like that. But in Greece, for example, this is an insult. So you cannot do that in Greece. You cannot take a taxi like that in Greece, okay? Nobody's gonna stop to pick you up. So these are some examples of what intercultural communication entitles, because it's not only speaking the same language, it's not only speaking English, it's everything that counts while dealing with different cultures. and talking about culture. So what is culture? It's like a flower in which each petal has like a different thing, a different topic, which make the flower be like it is, okay? For example, culture is a group of values, beliefs, behaviors, preferences, traditions, ways of learning, communicative models and their interpretation, art, literature, and all of this, it's shared, created, and transmitted by a group of people, generation after generation. So it's something that we acquire, and my culture, obviously, it's not the same as the culture of somebody coming from another country. Some countries are closer, but others are not. And this is also something we need to take into account while building relationships internationally. We need to know to work with, okay? Speaking of cultural analogies, every time we say, as Edward T. Hall, like an expert on this field, said once, that culture is like an iceberg, okay? The things that we see are above the surface, things like that are explicit, like the food, for example, we see the food, it's above of the surface, festivals, traditions, behaviors, but what it really matters in a culture, like the values, the sort of patterns, beliefs, the ways we have been rising, those things are below the surface. And this is like the biggest part of the iceberg. So when two cultures clash, that clash, it's produced underneath the surface, okay? When we have a conflict between the things that we cannot see easily, that is the values, the thought patterns, the beliefs. So the real clash, it's produced underneath the surface with the things that are not explicit, things of one culture that we cannot see. In business, what can this be? Business etiquette, ways of greeting, ways of negotiating, ways of communicating, okay? There are like different things that we need to take into account. So first like clue of this talk is that cultures are like icebergs, okay? And the real clash is produced under the surface. That's why we need to know from a culture the things that we cannot easily see. Another cultural analogies. Cultures can be divided into two different fruits, peach and coconuts, okay? Some cultures are said to be peach cultures, which seem friendly on the outside, but very difficult to know on the inside. Whereas people from coconut cultures seem cold and approachable on the outside, but when you get to know them, you can build personal relationships very, very fast, okay? So this is another thing we need to take into account while dealing with different cultures. Peach cultures are thought to be rational, individualistic, universalist, monochronic, and everything is divided into different compartments, okay? Monochronic means that everything takes place one thing at a time, okay? Everything is scheduled. We are, well, I say we because in Europe, we tend to be more peach, okay? Everything needs to be scheduled. We believe that objectives need to be complete as soon as possible. We are very pushy in negotiations. So this is what peach cultures are meant to be too. Whereas coconut cultures, okay, they are more focused on building relationships, on the harmony of the group. They are more collectivistic. They are polychronic, that their time is more flexible. Meetings are more flexible. The importance of a business relationship is not like the objective itself, but building a relationship with a company with whom you can grow in the future. They see everything as holistic, because here in Europe, everything has like its own place. Every department has its own duties, okay? But in coconut cultures, we are more holistic. Everything can be interrelated. Relationships are super important. So this is also a different we need to be aware of, okay? In Europe, we tend to be more pitch, okay? We are more pitches. And in Korea, for example, and in some countries of Asia, cultures are more coconut, okay? So now you know if you are more a peach or a coconut. Again, another thing we need to take into account, which is related to what I said before, is the theory of high and low context cultures. Okay, cultures, when we communicate, we place the main value on direct or indirect communication. And you have here like a continuum in which you can see where different countries are. Okay, low context cultures are super direct. What it says. Like written messages have like um, a real importance. Okay, why in high context cultures everything is more circular, communication is more indirect, we are trying to avoid conflict. Okay, we are not going to say things like straight away, but we are trying to find a way of saying things that do not harm our counterpart if we need to say like negative feedback or something, right? Here in Spain we are in the middle, but countries in Europe such as Germany or for example Switzerland, the United States, the United Kingdom, sorry, they are more low context cultures. Okay, whereas Korea could be an example of high context culture, as are other countries in Asia such as China or Japan, for example. Okay, here in Spain, even though we are Europe, we are a little bit in the middle. Okay, because we have like characteristics of both styles of communication. So this is like a clear graph to understand how low context communication is and how high context communication entitles. Okay, so low context communication is super direct, like a straight line, and if we move to high context communication, it will be like a little mess. Okay, because it goes in circles until you get to the final point. So neither of them is good or bad. It's just different ways we have of communicating. Okay, this is one of our cultural patterns. One of the things that are in the that are below the surface of that iceberg. Okay, the way we communicate. So if we talk about high context cultures, we will see that communication tends to be nonverbal, it's nuanced, it's indirect. Okay, the group is preferred over the individual, and it's relatively informal, it's less task oriented. For example, if we're meeting like one of our colleagues or partners from a cultures and we are taken out to dinner, it is not okay to start talking or getting down to business straight away, because here, as I said before, the focus is put on building the relationship. So it's quite normal to be talking first about vacation, family, personal things, because businesses are conceived of a way of building relationships as well. Okay. Then if we move to low context cultures, it is quite the opposite. You will expect explicit statements, straightforward communication, sometimes like a pushy tone. The individual is preferred over the groups. Okay, it's more formal, more task oriented. So when you're going out for dinner with a person from European countries such as Germany, for example, I mean, the natural way for Germans could be like start talking business straight away. Okay, so these are different ways of communicating. We need to know them to try to adapt to our counterpart, and also to be aware of what is going on. Okay, and know that people have different ways of communicating, and it's fine. We need to know just to how to combine both the styles, how to be pretty and self to do business successfully across different cultures. Again, as you saw in the continuum, high contact cultures include, for example, countries such as Korea, okay, where people have widespread networks with family, friends, and organizations. Low context cultures, for example, include the US, Germany, and other Northern European individualistic countries. As I said, Spain, because Europe is super big, we are a little bit in the middle. Europe is so big, right? So it is not the same negotiating or doing business with a German guy or a guy from the UK or a guy from Belgium than with a person from Spain, for example. This is why we need to know what the cultural clusters are, okay? The Project Globe, which was like a research project developed by Robert House, divided the world into 10 different clusters, okay? And within those different clusters, he and his team, they identified different ways of negotiating and different ways of communicating. So the world was divided in, as I said, in 10 different clusters. So for example, South Korea, you can see that it is in the, I don't know if you can see it well, in the Confucian Asia cluster there. But Europe is divided into 4 different clusters, okay? Eastern Europe, Latin Europe, Germanic Europe, and Nordic Europe. It is true that we can share certain characteristics, but we are different. So in order to know who we are negotiating with, it is really interesting to come and see and understand what this project means and what these clusters entitle, okay? If you access because it's open, it's got a website, so if you get to see this project, you can see the different clusters and its main characteristics. Also, they have like established different leader attributes that you can also check if you know how or what the leadership style in each of the clusters is. Then these project club clusters, in order to develop that, the researcher house based his investigation on the 6 dimensions of national culture, okay? Gerd Hofstede created like for every national clusters, okay? And in these dimensions, we can see how values in workplace are influenced by culture, okay? He like agrees and reflects how culture is a collective mental programming, and those 6 dimensions are seen as preferences that distinguish countries, okay? Not individuals, because as an individual, even though where we live, we can have like different preferences, okay? But we are talking about societies in general. So I'm going to explain really briefly what these 6 dimensions of national culture are, okay? The first one is called Power Distance Index, and it's about how a society handles inequalities among people. For example, in countries where the index of power distance is very large, it means that there is an acceptance of unequal distribution of power because everybody has a place, and hierarchy is very important. Whereas in countries with a low power distance index, people don't understand why a hierarchy is important, okay? They tend to a transformational leadership or a participative leadership in which everybody has something to say, okay? This could be the first index. European countries tend to have a lower power distance index, but countries such as South Korea and other countries in Asia, their index of high power distance is larger, okay? Here is like a picture of the hierarchy. Then second dimension, individualism versus collectivism, the importance of oneself or the importance of the group, okay? So in individualistic countries, which are most countries in Europe, relations are loose-fitting and you're expected to just take care of yourself and your immediate relatives, okay? It's yourself and your immediate family and closest friends. However, in collectivistic societies, they've got like an in-group loyalty. Relations are, more tight-fitting. They care about the group. They care about the fact of building relationships as well. Relationships are more important than individual goals, okay? This is something we've been talking as well in the slides that I passed before, right? So the way we approach a negotiation, the way we approach a business relationship, okay? In Europe, we tend to be like more individualistic and focus on goals and objectives, whereas in collectivistic countries, we are more focusing on building a solid relationship with whom we can grow afterwards. Third one, it is called masculinity versus femininity, or I also like to call it tough versus tender, okay? Countries with a higher index of masculinity, they have a preference for achievement, heroism, assertiveness, and material rewards for success, okay? It's like being a hero. I'm just going to be successful. I'm gonna be the winner. Whereas in countries which are more feminine, they have a preference for the cooperation, for the modesty, for caring for the weak, and they are societies which are more consensus oriented, okay? Here, what we can see is that masculinity countries are a lot of countries in Europe, and for example, South Korea is a country tending to be more femininity. Later, you will see that this is not black or white, okay? This is an index, and you will see like how it changes and how every country has a different index. Then we've got uncertainty of avoidance, which is how comfortable or uncomfortable we feel with uncertainty and ambiguity, okay? And the question to pop up here is like, should we try to control the future or just let it happen? Okay, this is also related to monochronic and polychronic time. If we got a strong uncertainty of avoidance index, we've got like rigid codes of beliefs and behavior, and we are intolerant with out of the rules behavior and ideas. Whereas if our uncertainty of avoidance index is weak, we have like a relaxed attitude towards uncertainties, and the practice counts more than principles. We feel more comfortable with things, with letting things happen. Okay. 5.1, it's called long-term versus short-term orientation. And the question is past, present, or future, okay? Societies with our more long-term orientation, they are more pragmatic. They prepare themselves for the future, they save, and they see like the relationships are building on a day-by-day basis, and we are focusing on the long term, okay? While in short-term societies, like time is money, punctuality is crucial, no change please, and they are super normative. Okay, so these are like two different indexes. And if we go finally to the last one, which is called indulgence versus restraint, the question here would be to have fun or not to have fun. That's the question. Okay, societies with a higher indulgence index, they free gratification of basic and natural human life. They enjoy life. They have like the motto carpe diem. Whereas in societies with a higher degree of restraint, there is a suppression of gratification of needs, and the society is regulated by strict social norms. Again, these are like one extreme and the other in the continuum, okay? But here you have a wonderful tool which you can access. I will send the link to you if you wish, in which you can compare lots of different countries in terms of these indexes, okay? Here, for example, you have a comparison, and I've chosen some countries in Europe, comparing them to South Korea. So we've got here, for example, Belgium, Germany, and of course, my beloved Spain and South Korea. So here you can see, for example, that in long-term orientation, Koreans, they are super focused on long-term relationships, etc. And they are super focused on the long term. Whereas Spain, for example, here, we are more focused on the short term. So Korea is a super collectivistic country. That's why it scored only 18% in individualism, because they really value the relationships and the group and the group harmony, etc. But in countries such as Belgium or Germany, they are super individualistic. Okay, it's like our goals, our ourselves. That's it. So here, for example, you can see how what differences we have among the different cultures in the different countries, and this is super useful while doing business across cultures, because you can see and you can see what to expect while doing business with someone from another country. Okay, and since Europe is super big, you can just write down the name of the country you wish to do business with. Okay, why is everything that I've said before important? Well, I'm going to just finish the presentation with some useful tips, okay? One thing we need to take into account, greetings, okay? We do not greet the same way while doing business in different countries. And this picture that we have, someone bowing, someone with a hand, it's a reflection of that sometimes we don't know what to do and we don't know how to greet somebody, okay? So it is true that in South Korea these days, it is most common to shake hands when you meet someone for the first time, as we do in Europe, okay? However, the bowing still exists, okay? And it can take place before or during the handshake. Europeans, you don't need to worry about bowing for the most part, but the gesture is always appreciated, okay? Also, the physical distance while greeting is also something very important, because it also takes part of the things that we have below the surface of that iceberg that we saw before, right? So normally women are used to in South Korea offer a bow instead of a handshake. Okay, in formal and business situation, it is like a custom, and it's just right. European women, when we are doing business with people from South Korea, we have the option to bow or to shake hands. Okay, it doesn't matter, but this is something we need to bear in mind, because greeting is something that we do differently in different countries. In Spain, for example, we give 2 kisses, and it's quite normal, no? And my students here from some countries were shocked when they arrived to the university on the first day and they saw like everyone kissing each other. It was like shocking for them. Then the fact of exchanging business cards, another thing that we need to take into account while doing business internationally. In Europe, for example, we tend to take the card and keep it on our pocket because we will have a look at it later when we need that, okay? But we cannot do this in countries such as South Korea or China because a business card represents the life of a person. So we need to be respectful with them, okay? So in order to be respectful and to show our respect for that person, we need to take the business card with 2 hands and read it carefully before putting it aside, okay? And never put it in our pocket as we normally do in Europe, okay? So this is something we also need to take into account because this is a cultural difference that can, especially with senior managers, this is something which is still very important in the business protocol. As far as the gift giving is concerned, this is also something related to business etiquette. I mean, it's common to do like a gift giving exchange before starting the negotiation or before starting a business relationship with somebody. But it is important to bear in mind how to give gifts, okay? For example, in South Korea, gifts, normally are wrapped nicely in bright colors such as yellow, pink, etc. In Spain, it doesn't matter. We can wrap them in white, black, or in Spain or in Europe, and in darker colors, which will not be well seen in South Korea, for example, okay? Again, never sign a card in red ink, okay? Don't make the mistake I made the first day of class with my Korean students, writing names with red inks on the whiteboard, okay? And again, gifts shall be given with both hands. And Europeans, we are really impulsive. So when we get a gift, we expect it to be open as soon as possible, no? And to show our gratitude the moment we open that. But bear in mind that in some countries, such as South Korea or China, those gifts, the people from these cultures prefer to open them aside at home or when you are not with them, okay? This is another cultural thing that we have to bear in mind. Hierarchy. It is important to know the importance of hierarchy and also the importance of preparing business relationship with people which holds like a similar status, okay? And it is very important to know who is superior to you based on your age, position, family name, and show respect to each person as necessary while creating business relationships, okay? Because as we said, in South Korea, hierarchy is very important. They are super collectivistic, whereas in European countries, we are like more informal. They are more junior positions, and juniors have like important tasks. But when starting a business relationship, if you are